Hello everyone, this is Venom, and we are checking out some Dragons Dogma 2 gameplay and footage today. I'm very excited about Dragons Dogma 2. Dragons Dogma 2. I did play Dark Arisen. I played it when Dark Arisen came out. So Dragons Dogma Dark Arisen was actually a DLC for Dragons Dogma. If you don't know, I played when Dark Arisen came out, so I kind of had some DLC help when I played the game, but I enjoyed the game quite a bit. For those who don't know what it is, it's kind of like Elder Scrolls meets Dark Souls. It's a very, very fun game to play. I enjoyed playing it. It actually took me a long time to actually buy the game, even though I kept popping up in my recommended. I was like, it doesn't look like my cup of tea. It definitely was my cup of tea. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to Dragons Dogma 2. I'm finally going to go ahead and take a look at some of the footage. I'm doing this now because, one, the game is coming out in just a few weeks. Two, because it looks like some YouTubers got early access. I'm not saying a few, I think it's actually 2 weeks. But some early access gameplay starting to come out, so I definitely want to check some of that out. And I want to go ahead and check out some of the vocations and stuff, so we're going to go ahead and do a Dragons Dogma 2 deep dive today. Now, before we go in, the only real thing, no game is perfect, but I just have one small worry about the game, and it's just an OCD thing. For those who don't know, when you level up in Dragons Dogma, your stats that you get are going to be dependent on what class you are, and to min-max as you leveled up, you kind of have to keep changing classes, because each class will give you different stats at certain levels, and to min-max was kind of a pain in the butt, because I never did it, by the way. I never did min-max. I think I just played, I want to say an assassin for most of the time, and then I switched to Mystic Light, but to min-max, you basically got to keep changing your class. So I wonder if that's going to be the same thing in Dragons Dogma 2 or not, but we're going to find out here. But this is from the Tokyo Game Show last year. This is when they showed off Dragons Dogma 2. We're gonna watch this. I'm gonna react to it a little bit, and then we're gonna go through all the vocations. I have not seen the vocations yet. I think I saw part of this, but it's been a while, so we're gonna watch the entire thing and check out the vocations, and then we're gonna check out all that some of that release footage here. So let's go take a look. Looks like a Witcher. Ooh. Looks like a Cyclops there. See, I recognize most of these enemies, so I'm guessing there's going to be a lot of the same basic enemy types, which is not bad. It was always cool when you play or you see a game coming out and you recognize some of the enemies.
I'm Hideaki Itsuno, the director of Dragons Dogma 2. Dragons Dogma 2 is a narrative-driven action RPG set in an immersive fantasy world designed to place player choice at the heart of the gameplay experience. The action gameplay is...
Now, one thing I'm curious about, I don't know if this is a prequel or a sequel to Dragons Dogma, so I'm kind of curious. I played through all of Dragons Dogma Dark Arisen, so I know how it ends, so I'm kind of curious if this happens after or before. I would guess probably before, but I don't know. We'll see. Like, I would guess this would be a prequel, but this might be a sequel.
Designed to challenge your creativity, and although this is a single-player adventure, AI-controlled companions will accompany you throughout the experience. Today, I'd like to show you a little of what you can expect from the world of Dragons Dogma 2 with this new
looks like an escort quest going on.
In Dragons Dogma 2, up to 3 AI-controlled beings called pawns can join you on your adventures. Players can choose from 4 starting vocations that determine how they will play.
Thief, Mage, Archer.
Of course, you will be able to change your vocation at any time by visiting vocation guilds.
Like I said, I'm really worried about the stat spread on this, but
vocation.
Okay, this is going to show us.
Wielding a one-handed sword,
okay, yes, it'll show us the
stuff. The fighter excels in melee combat.
Okay.
As a fighter, you can cut down enemies with a sword and protect yourself and your party using your shield.
Really good solid class. I liked playing it when I did.
As we keep going, we can see some harpies in the distance. As an archer, you'll be better suited to take down enemies above you. Let's see what they can do.
Yeah, Archer was a pretty good class. I think they had Magic Archer too. I wonder what's
Archer is
going
a vocation that uses a bow and arrow to attack enemies from a distance.
Turn this down a little bit.
Make full use of your arsenal.
Remember, the Archer was cool. I think Mystic Archer was just insane.
You can also aim at your enemies.
And I ended up having to play all the classes because I don't know if the system's going to be the same in Dragons Dogma 2, but you kind of could unlock different abilities like a crossover to other vocations when you mastered them.
React to players by using their wits against you.
So you end up playing kind of everything if you wanted to min-max.
Next, I would like to show you the
Mage. That's what I made my pawn. I made it a mage.
Mages excel at long-range magical attacks, as well as healing and support spells that bolster your party with various enchantments to give allies an advantage in battle.
Yep, I had a healing mage as my
The more
pawn.
advanced and powerful the magic is, the longer the incantation will take.
Remember that death spell took forever to cast.
In addition to the pawns you adventure with, you will occasionally act with other inhabitants of the world.
What's this?
Okay.
We're trapped.
You can climb all those rocks. And there's a Cyclops. That was like the first big monster I fought in Dragons Dogma 1.
Lastly, let's take a look at the thief. As a thief, you use daggers to strike at your enemies, relying on agility and quick attacks.
That jump attack. I'm having some flashbacks. When I was playing the Assassin thing, I had that.
The key strategy for the thief against massive
It's been a while since I played it too. I kind of want to go back and play it, but there's so many games to play right now.
Fighting head-on is always an option, but it's a good idea to utilize the environment around you while engaging with enemies.
Okay. I don't remember how much of that was in Dragons Dogma 1, but
diverse terrains and the particular monster you're up against.
I might have also just been really particular in the way I fought in the 1 too.
To use their creativity to succeed.
Did y'all just Brit? Okay, that was kind of cool.
Two nations prosper in the world of Dragons Dogma 2.
It didn't look overly scripted, so that might be.
And Batal, the land of
Let me back up. That might have just been like a scripted event in the game, but it might still be something you can do because that looked pretty.
Their creativity to succeed.
I don't know. Either way, it looks pretty cool.
Two nations prosper in the world of Dragons Dogma 2.
Okay.
Vermund, the human kingdom, and Batal, the land of Beastren. In Vermund, the Arisen who slay the dragon have ruled as kings for generations. This land of lush meadows and rolling hills is ripe for exploration.
See, as soon as you said that, so it could be okay. So it's a spoiler. I'm not gonna say it, but as soon as you said that the Arisen have slayed dragons have ruled for generations, that is a huge spoiler. I'm not gonna mention why, but okay, I can already kind of see where some of this is going. See, Dragon's Dogma is an old game, but 2's coming out, so I don't really... At this point, even information from Dragon's Dogma 1, I think, might be a spoiler alert for Dragon's Dogma 2, so I'm not going to say it. But, yeah, just that sentence right there kind of got me excited, because I'm like, okay, there's going to be something crazy going on in here, some intrigue on the human side.
In contrast, Batal is a rugged canyon nation with a city built on the site of ancient ruins.
Okay.
It is home to the Beastren and their unique culture. The nation of Batal offers players a different experience from the human kingdom, with diverse environments to explore and monsters to encounter.
Can you choose where you start off with?
In your adventures, you might come across people who call out to you.
Have you some business with the apothecary, sir?
Other times, you might receive quests from people who you aid.
Thought I'd ne'er make it. I might be so bold as to impose upon you again. Would you be willing to accompany me to the cenotaph and safeguard me from harm?
Pawns with knowledge of a quest may be able to guide you to the right location, but it is up to the player to decide whether to follow them or not.
Now, this isn't necessarily a negative of the game, but this is just because it feels very Dragon Dogma. The graphics definitely look dated a bit, but I'm not saying that's a bad thing, and I'm not saying that game has to have absolutely beautiful, cutting-edge graphics, but I am saying that even though the graphics look dated, they look very Dragon's Dogma. So even looking around, this looks very Dragon's Dogma-esque. I don't know how else to explain it, but if I just say that the graphics are their art style, it looks like it definitely feels very Dragon's Dogma-esque because of the way the graphics feel and the way that people look. So, again, not a bad thing, but it definitely has its own style, so I kind of like how it definitely feels like I'd be playing Dragon's Dogma again, too.
Pawns support you throughout your adventures and may come to your aid when you are in trouble.
Oh yeah, they can catch you.
To complete your quests, you can ride ox carts to travel to major locations. But be aware, as you might get attacked en route to your destination and have to decide how to tackle the situation. During the ride, you can choose to close your eyes to quickly arrive at your destination.
Okay, I guess I do. I seriously got to just sit there the whole time, or is there actual quick travel?
Time is ever passing, even while riding an ox cart.
Okay.
And the environment around the player constantly changes. Nighttime is
That's too dark.
especially dangerous.
That's way too damn dark. Don't. Fuck no.
With no light to eliminate your surroundings, you will be enveloped in pitch black darkness
Yeah.
where you can't even see your feet. Also, there are dangerous monsters that only appear at night, so you need to be careful when adventuring in the dark. If you have a
Yeah, that's like
camping kit,
scary
you can
dark.
find a campsite to spend the night and recover your health.
Good evening, Arisen.
Oh, that voice is not Matt's that buddy.
'Tis the honor of my life to share your journey with you.
Okay, I did not expect that sound.
I'd like to introduce some advanced vocations that become available as you progress in the story.
Now, this is a thing that I kind of saw that I might be a little bit excited / upset about. So I think the Mystic Knight was my main class. You know, when everything's said and done, it was my main class. It was like a good counter class. It was really overpowered. I mean, a lot of people love the class, just because of how overpowered it was. But yeah, that was the class that I played. I believe it's no longer in, or it's not going to be in Dragons Dogma 2. But I think the Mystic Spearhead is going to be what replaces it. So this might be what ends up being my main class. Let's take a look.
Mystic Spearhand combines magic attacks and weapon-based physical attacks. A good all-rounder, they use their duo spear at close range and magic at long range. They can also use magic to block an enemy's movement or throw multiple items at once.
That looks pretty damn cool.
Archer is a vocation that further specializes in long-range attacks with magical arrows. On top of healing and providing support to your allies, they can learn a skill that releases a powerful attack over a wide area in exchange for reducing their own maximum HP.
Damn.
And of course, there are other unique vocations you can look forward to. We have a playable version of Dragons Dogma 2 at the Tokyo Game Show Capcom booth. Depending on the choices they make, each player can experience very different playthroughs.
Okay, so that was pretty much a game show. Now, as of right now, and I'm going to check the website here again, too. Give me just a second here. I was checking out the Dragons Dogma website, and it showed 8 vocations on there, so let me go and pull it up real quick. Alright, so here's the Dragons Dogma 2 website. Now let's check out the vocations that I saw. I don't know why I can't, in my head, I can't figure out where. There we go. Creation. Where's the vocations at? Monsters. Okay, this is like character creation. I don't care about that. World. I'll look for that where I check out the other video. Where's it at? Here we go. So let's go ahead and check out those other vocations. Vocations. Here we go. Here's one that didn't list it. The Trickster. This is a new one. I don't even know what I'm looking at, to be honest with you. So this like buffs and some kind of... Okay, I got the locations up here. It looked like it was creating illusions that damage, so let's start with it. Here we go, Trickster. What does it say? There we go. Location exclusive to the Arisen. The Trickster can conjure illusions through the smoke created by its unique weapon, the Sensor. Tricksters can use illusions to deceive enemies in fighting against their own. They also have the ability to temporarily increase the power of pawns beyond their limits. Okay, so this is definitely a support class then. That's what I was kind of curious about. It didn't look like they were doing a lot of direct damage, but it looked like they were creating a lot of stuff. I don't know. See, that looked like it was direct damage. Okay, very interesting. What else do we got? This one is called Warfare. Let's see, we got a video on that. Actually, no, let's do the Mystic Spear here real quick. So this is one I'm thinking is going to end up being my main vocation. I like that it's got good up close and range abilities. But I am curious about its defensive abilities. It might have to do a lot of dodging. Okay, that just looks... Oh, that was nasty! I like it. Okay. I'm gonna end up playing all of them at some point, but that was... I gotta remember that a lot of these characters are like maxed out too, so a lot of this stuff you're not gonna be doing right from the beginning. Oh, okay, that was cool. Alright, this is... What was this one? I think it's a Magic Archer. I remember the Magic Archer was strong, but I didn't particularly like it in Dragons Dogma. But it definitely had some pretty cool abilities. Yeah, no, I don't remember it being like a healing class or anything, so that might be something that was added, or just something I just forgot about from Dragons Dogma. From the first one. Oh, I remember that one, the bounce arrow. Ooh. Now, as of right now, I don't know if we have any more besides those 8 vocations, but they only show the 8 on the website right now, so I think there's some speculation there might have been more that were hidden, but I'm not seeing anything so far, so as far as I can tell, this is what we got. Now, Sorcerer, this thing had some of the coolest... This thing has some of the coolest abilities in the game. Like, you're literally summoning like tornadoes and lightning and giant icicles and spears. It was crazy. Now, it took a long time to charge up some of that stuff, but this was some of the most visually stunning attacks I've seen in any game ever. Oh, is it yep, tornado. There we go. Is that a gator? Yeah. Yeah, ooh. I don't even know what this one is. Yeah, a lot of the sorcerer's attacks are just insane. Alright, so those were the advanced ones. So, like I said, I know that we know 4 right now, but there was speculation there may be more. I don't think there's going to be, but it would be nice if there were. Now, Warrior is the other one. Oh, either Warrior, I think, yeah, there we go. Warrior is the other one I think I might be interested in doing. I guess there were a lot of Guts builds during the first Dragon's Dogma, and I'm kind of curious to see if that's going to be a thing in Dragon's Dogma 2 again, so... I mean, that looks like Guts right there. I mean, come on. This looks brutal, and I already want to play it. Ooh. See, this is my playstyle in Elden Ring, and it makes me want to do this. I'm just used to playing Elden Ring. The hits don't feel like they hit as hard, but it's really hard to top with the hits sound like an Elden Ring too. Like, this looks pretty damn fun. Ooh. something else too. I forgot exactly which Castlevania it was, but it was the one where you could choose between different classes. And I remember it was always easier, and I always felt stronger going through as a fighter class than I did as a mage class, which is what my favorite was. I had to be super high level as a mage to really be overpowered, and then I was overpowered. I couldn't be killed, but as a fighter, I just felt like unstoppable. And I feel the same way playing some RPGs now. It's not the way I typically would want to play, but when I do play that way, oh man. Oh, it is so fun to just go through and just brutalize everything. Okay, now I didn't see the assassin on here. I believe the assassin was a very overpowered class in 1, and they tuned it down a bit, but it still had some pretty awesome attacks that I used, especially the counters. Let's take a look at what the thief looks like, so I think that's probably going to have all its abilities in there now. Yep, dual wielding thief. I remember that counter ability was just the shit. I use that on everything. And I think it can climb, yep, it can climb really well too. Yep, that's one. That right there. Oh, that was my move. I loved it. Yes. Oh, every class so far. Okay, most of the classes so far I've loved. I wonder if they're gonna have black bomb, or I forgot what they were called, black bombs. I've seen a lot of people that did a lot of speed runs using bombs. I want to see if that's gonna be a thing again too. I think this is the archer, and then I think we've got the fighter left, and then the mage. Now, I wasn't a big fan of the archer. Was not a big fan of the archer. I know that was some people's favorite class, but that was not mine, unfortunately. Ooh. That looks nasty. Some kind of oil arrow. It's got some smooth moves, don't get me wrong. It's got some sick moves. I wouldn't have done that heads up move there, but not bad there. Okay, so we'll do the mage and then we'll do the fighter. So the mage, like I said, this is what I made my pawn. It had all the support skills. That just is just ringing through my... Hold on, my headphones are making a very weird sound. Hopefully it's not. There we go. Yeah, this was a support class. It was a healing class, had a bunch of buffs. This is what I made my pawn. It's a pretty popular choice for pawns, too. That's all I was saying. Is that pawn busting ass? But no, okay. Okay, that's cool. Oh, I want to say if they got the electric whips in this one, too. I think that was a sorcerer's skill, though. But there was this awesome move you could do. You basically turned your staff into the electric whip, and you would just bam, bam, bam. It was great. It was great. There we go. Here's a fighter. I remember this one being a pretty decent all-around one. I don't know if it was called a fighter before with the shield. It might have been. But it had a pretty decent, oh, counter on there. I like it. Pretty decent to use. The opening character in the tutorial is a fighter, too. Yeah, I mean, nothing flashy, but, it's tanky and it's a good all-around fighter. Yeah. I'm not saying I'm not going to use a fighter, because that one definitely has some that fits my playstyle, but definitely not my favorite, but definitely solid. Let's take a look here. So we did that. We're going to go ahead and pull up some, footage from some of the early access, and we're going to see what that looked like. Let's see, we got a few here. Here we go. All right, I have not seen this at all yet,
Dragons
so
Dogma 2
this is from the Black Hokage. We're going to check out what he's got to say. It says that this is better than Elden Ring, so let's take a look here. Again, this is the Black Hokage. I'll link him down below, but let's take a look.
annoys the hell out of me. Dragons Dogma 2 annoys the hell out of me, and it's because it's so good. Due to the fact that both DD2 and Rise of Ronin will be released on March 22nd, 2024, I'm currently experiencing a conflicting feeling. See, in the beginning, I was certain that I'd begin Rise of Ronin first, but now I'm not so sure about that expectation. And this is due to the fact that I was recently invited to Capcom's offices in LA to receive some early hands-on time with Dragons
Oh, okay.
Dogma 2.
I thought they got
came
the
away
part
from
of the
that play
game
session
early.
feeling really
So there was a
impressed.
PlayStation
But
they
first,
set
allow
up.
me to set the stage. Context matters, so understand before I break down what I played, know that the time that I played this game was very limited. About 2.5 hours is the amount of
Okay, so I take back what I said. It wasn't early access. They got the game early. They got to play it early is what it was. So let's
time
continue
that
from
Capcom gave
there.
me to play
2.5
Dragons
hours.
Dogma 2. We played on a PS5, and they gave us access to 2 different classes.
Okay.
One of those classes was the Mystic Spearhand, and the other was the Archer. I got approximately 1 hour and some change to play both of these classes. Just know that I won't be discussing any portions of the story, and there are multiple reasons for this decision. To begin,
Okay.
I wouldn't spoil things for you even if I had the ability to do so. And the second reason is that,
I wanna hear
I'm
about
not
that
able to spoil
Spearhand.
things even if I wanted to.
What you talking about, Willis?
I'm referring to the fact that after I arrived at the Capcom's offices, we did the typical meet and greet. I signed a non-disclosure agreement, and then they seated me at a PS5 where I was allowed to play. There was no context for anything other than the fact that this build that I played was very close to the final build of Dragons Dogma 2. After being loaded into the open world, I was instructed to have a good time. And ladies and gentlemen, I'm happy to report back to you that I did in fact
Now here's a game. Have a good time. Enjoy.
I'm having fun!
That good time is the subject that I tend to concentrate on with this video. See, back in 2012 when the original Dragons Dogma was released, I was a fan of it. However, it's been 12 years. That is a significant amount of time, and one of the things this play session did was rekindle my passion for this franchise. Due to the
Okay.
fact that I frequently pause the game in order to take notes, I have a lot to discuss with y'all. I also asked you, the viewer, via Twitter in the community tab, what were some of your questions you had about Dragons Dogma 2?
Are we getting the Mystic Knight back? That's my big question. Are we going to have more than just the A classes? Are we going to be able to rent our pawns out to each other again? Because when I got into Dragon's Dogma, when I started playing it, the whole pawn renting system was basically done. If I wanted to rent pawns out, it cost way too much, and nobody was renting pawns anymore, so I couldn't get a whole bunch of points. So that's my question.
So make sure you stay to the very end because I'll do my best to address some of those questions. The first thing I want to touch on is the open world. For those of you unaware, this is another massive open world game, but I want to specifically touch on a quote given by one of the game's lead designers in regards to the open world design. And I apologize for butchering your name, but Hidaki Itsuno goes on to say, just give it a try. Travel's boring? That's not true. It's only an issue because your game is boring. All you have to do is make travel fun. That's why you place things in the right location for players to discover or come up with enemy appearance methods that create different experiences each time, or force players into blind situations where they don't know whether it's safe or not 10 meters in front of them. Now, my initial response to this quote was not favorable. I said on Twitter, that's an L take. I get where he's coming from, but the average gamer is 35 plus years old, where responsibilities and sometimes getting lost in a 100-hour game ain't an option. Fast travel should remain a staple in gaming. And many of you echoed the same sentiment judging by the responses to this tweet. However, after playing the game, I would like to make 2 observations. With regard to the point I made on Twitter, I stand on what I initially said, but I must admit that after playing Dragons Dogma 2, I have a greater understanding of where he's coming from. See, despite the fact that DD2 is a vast open world single player game.
Okay, we're not doing Google Fire. I'm not giving Google any fucking my time. Nope. You can skip past that.
By providing the player open world single player game, it manages to avoid this limitation by providing the player with something to do at all times. One of the biggest problems with open world games is that a significant number of them are devoid of content. And considering that, the open world often does not contribute anything to the player or their experience. It frequently feels like the developers are just trying to pad their game. This does not appear to be the case with Dragons Dogma 2, at least not during the period that I had the opportunity to play the game. See, due to the fact that they dropped us in the middle of the game, I had no idea what was going on in the main story. And truth be told, I didn't care. Even though I was just strolling about, I came across a lot of interesting things to do and see, and because of that, Dragons Dogma 2 gave me the same sensation I had while exploring the world of Elden Ring for the first.
Now, I'm not saying that he's wrong, I'm not saying he's right, but that being said, I mean, there's just so much to do. I personally got an issue with some games, like right now I'm still playing Baldur's Gate 3. I've still yet to finish the game, not because I'm not playing it, but because there's so much to do, and my OCD makes me do every quest and makes me explore everything before I can move on. I think I've spent about a week in just that first open map before I even went to the mountains. And that's like how long it took me to, one, to get used to the game, and then two, get through everything. So yes and no for that. I mean, if you're doing multiple playthroughs, that's fine. But I'm the kind of person, even if I'm doing multiple playthroughs, I kind of want to go through and do everything. Especially if you're like limited for experience. Now, I don't think you are limited for experience in Dragon's Dogma. I believe enemies would respawn. But that being said, the more there is to do, it might end up swamping. Like, it could be a situation where you go in and you play Skyrim, and you end up not doing the main story quest, and you're like, I got nothing else to do. And you're like, oh yeah, I hadn't even started the main story yet. I got my powers and I forgot to do all that. So I wonder if it's going to be that. There is such a thing as too much. It's a fine balance. If there's a fine balance, there is too little and there can be too much. Too much is not, it sounds like it's not, or it sounds like it's a bad thing. I'm sorry, let me rephrase this. Too much to do is a bad thing in a game. That being said, it's hard to get to that point. And again, I have just got OCD, so I want to do everything. Not everybody's like that. Most people are probably fine going through it and not getting the full armor set of the destructive dragon, whatever, you know. I'm the kind of person I've got to collect everything. I'm a collector. So that's definitely a me issue. That being said, as long as the game doesn't feel like it's just piling stuff on top of stuff on top of stuff, and I can't get to the main story or something like that, I should be fine. But again, that's definitely me issue. I don't think we're going to be starved for content on here, at least stuff to do in the game. So at least that sounds good so far. They're not saying that it's empty or anything, so that's a good thing.
First time.
That's a bold statement.
It is, and I stand on it. I'm not saying this will be as good or better than Elden Ring, but I am feeling optimistic about this game before its release. With a span of just 2 hours, exploring resulted in a wonderful number of interactions. Here's a few examples. As I was running through the grasslands, I came across a fight between a big cyclops and a griffin, which I witnessed. While they fought, I stood back. This fight, it reminded me of like Godzilla versus King Kong. After some time, the griffin was winning the fight and he was getting close to killing the cyclops, so the crew and I jumped into the center of the fight. We ended up stealing a kill from the griffin, and then we fought the griffin, which resulted in me gaining an incredible amount of XP for both of those kills. Now, I was able to record it all. It was really cool. I wish you could see it, but my footage unfortunately got corrupted, so unfortunately, you're just gonna have to enjoy this B-roll and take my word for it. That was a big thing that I saw. A smaller example would be the crew and I were traveling, right? We come across a dark cave and we have to pass through it to get to our next objective. We walk into the cave, and midway through, I step on a trap. The cave lights up, and now we're getting jumped by a group of bandits. I love stuff like this because the game then forces the player to stay on their toes. Moving on to combat, as mentioned earlier, I got to play the Mystic Spear and the Archer classes. In my opinion, the combat in this game is comparable to that of the Final Fantasy VII remakes. Even though it is an action game, you won't be able to mash buttons in Dragon's Dogma 2. When it comes to the fighting, there's a flow to things that the player must master, otherwise you'll be punished for not dodging. You have access to a wide range of unique powers that can be utilized, and let's
take a look what we got there here. Cancel, we got weapon skill switch, rivet shot, okay, flame arrows. Okay, so it looks very reminiscent of what Dragon's Dogma 1 looked like as far as the controls go. Here, cancel, okay.
Stamina meter ensures that you aren't spamming them. The best way I describe the stamina meter is, I say it felt balanced, which means that you'll have a lot of opportunities to use your abilities, but don't expect to be a god. And this all stems from the fact that what I've seen is, it's impossible to go completely berserk without becoming exhausted. Although alternatively, I thought about this, and it's possible that the stamina won't be a problem at all. See, I was provided with a pre-made character, and I wasn't allowed to experiment with the skill tree, so I'm not 100% sure on the role that stamina will play in the combat. What I can tell you is that one of the best parts of Dragon's Dogma 2 is how you eliminate some of these legendary mythical beasts. As soon as you stun an enemy, they become accessible for climbing. And if you want to know the truth, climbing on top of an enemy and stabbing them to death is more enjoyable than ever. Exhilarating.
Oh, you gotta stun them to stab them in here. Okay, I don't remember having to do that in the first one. I thought you could just hop right on them.
Still making you feel like a mortal.
I don't remember for sure though.
The way you're swaying and swinging left and right while you're stabbing them in the back. I mean, there's just nothing else on the market that's comparable to this mechanic, and it's even more impressive in Dragon's Dogma 2 than the first game. In regards to the Mystic Spear, they had...
Yeah, that is pretty fun. We did that in Dragon's Dogma 1 too. I'll be honest, when I saw the climbing mechanic in Dragon's Dogma 1, for some reason in my head I just had trouble thinking, like, how do you do something like that? How do you climb on a creature in a game? It doesn't seem like that it's a very effective system, but again, I was used to playing games like Skyrim where, I mean, it was wide open. They probably could have programmed something like that in, but they didn't do anything nearly that cool. I was like, there can't be anything that cool in this game. That doesn't make sense. It's in the game. It's pretty damn cool, and it's a huge mechanic. In fact, their whole build's revolving around just climbing on the enemy, just taking it out from the top. But yeah, it's a very fun mechanic in the game. In fact, you pretty much have to do it for certain fights, but it's very fun.
Had the feel of a conventional spear type character all the way through, but they also have some flamboyant swinging moves that reminded me of Donatello from TMNT. The distinction is that they also use magic to enhance their combat moves. This class has an ability that allows him to charge at an adversary, and it's the fact you can utilize this leap into the air and engage in combat with enemies that can fly that I found this move to be particularly helpful. This is a class that I enjoyed, but I had the impression I was gonna enjoy it before I even played it, so it didn't have as much of an effect on me. Now the Archer class, that was something that did take me by surprise. I was concerned that this class might be dull, but I'm relieved to say that it's not even close to being boring. This
now, remember the magic archer is supposed to be like
it's a magic archer.
It's another support class.
But there were two cool powers that struck out to me that this class possessed. It is possible to fire an arrow that slows down time, explodes upon impact, and it allows you to direct it throughout its whole flight in the air. When dealing with mobs,
sounds like that bar from Warframe.
The Archer also possesses the ability to shoot ricochet arrows, which is also another dope talent. First off, it fires arrows like a machine gun, but what's more important is that the arrows are being reflected off of the walls. The crew and I were exploring.
Do massive damage to something in a small space or a bunch of small enemies.
To run the Archer when the full game comes out. I was able to locate a treasure chest while exploring in the cave, and immediately after I opened the chest, a gigantic goblin ripped through the wall and began swinging.
I thought it was going to be a mimic.
When I was on the verge of panicking, I suddenly recalled that I had the ricochet arrow and I hadn't tried it out yet. So I pulled it out and I fired what was like 50 arrows, but they continued bouncing off the wall. So imagine like 50 arrows, bright purple energy beams just bouncing off the wall. Yeah, that goblin, to make a long story short, he got his ass tore up.
Pause.
Having that opportunity to make that cool experience happen, it just left me sitting there like, damn, I might want to run this class for my full playthrough. If you use your imagination, I promise you the Archer will not be a problem playing in this game. And complementing the amazing combat is the top-notch music in this game. The music in this game definitely made me sit up in my chair and concentrate on the fight. So if you're a fan of orchestras that are well-timed, you should absolutely check out this game. I felt it was vital to take the time to let y'all know that the music in this game is really incredible, because music is such an important instrument for games and generating moods that I feel like it's frequently.
Now I wonder if everybody got to play the same stuff basically. And I'm keep just going, but I'm getting the next one going.
Not all the sunshine and farts. I do have some negative takeaways from my time with this game. The first being that there's no lock-on for the camera. This was a bit frustrating at first, especially considering enemies tend to be wild and aggressive, so you constantly have to disengage in combat to swing the camera around. A lock-on feature also would have been nice for the larger enemies, so I knew what exactly I was targeting when I was trying to be intentional about my offense. Now, eventually I was able to adapt to this lack of lock-on feature, but do know it might frustrate some of y'all early on in your playthrough. During conversations, mouth movements were not the best. Rarely was a character's mouth in sync with what they were saying. For me, this isn't a deal breaker, but it wasn't subtle. It was very noticeable, and I'm just trying to be objective about what I think could be cleaned up before launch. As for the frame rate, I know many of you are curious of what this game is running at, and honestly, I didn't know this game was rumored to be running at 30 FPS before playing, so I didn't get to ask the PR team when I was there. I only found out about the 30 FPS rumors after asking what y'all wanted to know on Twitter. But I will say from playing it, it didn't feel like 60 FPS, but it also didn't feel like 30. I honestly couldn't tell. I wasn't paying that much attention to the frame rate, seeing as my time was limited. What I can say is that I didn't experience any frame drops or weird stuttering, but I also wouldn't be shocked if this game was locked at 30 FPS or using some type of dynamic resolution frame rate. And the reason being is the scale of this game is large, and it looks much better on a monitor than on YouTube. With the large scale of the fights and the impressive visuals and the fast-paced action, I wouldn't be shocked if this game is locked at 30 on console. The scope of everything seems like it might push the hardware to its limits, but I can't give a definitive answer on that one, so my apologies on that. What I can say is that I enjoyed what I played, and I'm looking forward to the full release of Dragons Dogma 2. This is definitely a day one purchase for me, so you can do what you want with that info. While you figure out what to do with that info, I'm going to tap into the community. As mentioned earlier, I asked on Twitter in the community tab, what questions do you have about Dragons Dogma 2 before?
All right, let's see what questions you got to answer.
The ones I was capable of answering go as follows. Hat Guy 22 says, how many dragons are in the game and how much screen time do they get? So like I said earlier, if you were paying attention, I only got 2 hours to play.
Now, I don't remember 100%. I think there's the one main dragon. I think there might have been some additional dragons in the game, but they weren't. I don't remember they were like dragons or like wyvern dragons. I remember the Dark Arisen had like, it was like a side It was a DLC. It was like a little side thing. So it had dragons in there, but they weren't like part of the main game or anything. But there were additional dragons you could fight.
Play the game.
They're strong as
There's
shit,
no
too.
way for me to answer how many dragons are in the game. What I can tell you is, in my 2 hours of playing the game, just exploring, I ran into 2 different dragons. One in the day and then one at night. I ran into several griffins. Peter Griffin? Not Peter Griffin. I don't know Peter Griffin. I ran into that Cyclops. I ran into a bunch of giant goblins. I ran into tons of mythical creatures. I can't tell you how many dragons are in the game, but what I can tell you is there's plenty of big ass shit to fight. Trust me. Ahmad asks, will stamina be unlimited outside of combat? Now, I can't give you a definitive answer because I'm not a developer. I can only tell you what I played, but I'm about 95% sure that stamina is unlimited outside of combat because when I was playing, I noticed
Alright, so they asked some basic questions. They asked more about fast travel. They asked about some bikini armor, as in Dragons Dogma 1. Some improvements by the Okay, so some basic questions, nothing too crazy. We're gonna go ahead and get on to the next video here. This one's from Rage Gaming Videos. I like these guys. They do a lot of Monster Hunter content. We're gonna check them out real quick. They got a little video here. We're gonna check them out, and then we're gonna be done. We're already at like 40 minutes with this video, so let's check out what we've got from Rage Gaming Videos.
Hello and welcome back to Rage Gaming. My name is Hollow, and today I've got a special video for you. I have played Dragons Dogma 2. I was invited to go out to the Capcom office today. I've got a special video for you.
Fucking dragon. That's a dragon that you fight in Dragon's Dogma. That is like the ugliest dragon I've ever seen. I wanted to mention that. And that thing's nose just upsets me. I don't know how to explain it. It's just its nose and mouth. It's the roundness of it. It just upsets me to no end for some reason.
I have played Dragons Dogma 2. I was invited to go out to the Capcom offices here in the UK and try the game for a good few hours. And there was very few restrictions on that gameplay. They'd set up 2 different saves for us to try. There was a melee and ranged option. And instead of focusing on one, I had more than enough time to play both. Those 2 vocations, though, were Archer and Mystic Spearhand.
Okay, so that's the same for everybody.
Because
at least the same for these 2 so far.
Totally different playstyles. They both felt very good. So I've got all this footage and stuff to show you. There are some restrictions on the type of stuff I can make videos about. Like in these videos, I can't ever show you the map or any of the menus. A big thank you then to Capcom for the chance to play early. But yeah, let's just talk about what I did and what this was like. So to begin with, I had the choice of the 2 different saves. I started with the Mystic Spearhand, so in the Mystic Spearhand gameplay, you can see me learning the basics of the game. So let's talk about that. The universal basics for every class is stamina. You don't really have things like mana or limited ammo, or even necessarily cooldowns on your abilities. Everything is restricted by the stamina. So if you're sprinting around in a fight, you're doing lots of attacks, you're trying to use your abilities, you're spending it. Especially when I was playing the Archer, you could find yourself running out of stamina and then stumbling around. You still have options during these situations, like when I was fighting 2 ogres at once, and they both turned to me as soon as I ran out of stamina, which definitely felt like they noticed I was out of stamina and targeted me. I could still kind of like slowly waddle between their legs and completely avoid their attacks, which felt amazing. The hitboxes are really good.
Lucky.
So
I don't think it's going to happen for most people, but
really important. Taking a break between spamming abilities or relying on your pawns to help you when you do run out of stamina. Like on my Archer, many times when I run out of stamina, a pawn will come running up and give me a little boost, which might save me in that moment. You have your light and heavy attacks, which obviously work totally different based on vocation. With the Mystic Spearhand, I had, say, like a light and heavy combo, twin cuts using both sides of the spear with a light combo, to the point where I'm twirling it really quick, or slower thrusts and swings and swipes that could even lead to ranged attacks. So even though the Mystic Spearhand's, more of the melee option here, I had ranged options and a lot of mobility. Whereas, say, with the Archer, I would have like these quick shots to be able to fire without aiming when something's up close that are a lot weaker, but at least you're doing something while moving and getting away from having something pressuring you. But heavy or triangle would actually change the radius of my shots. So if I made that smaller, I would more accurately dump arrows into a target, or if I swapped to the wider one, I could hit multiple targets once easily with the auto-aiming. There's a lot I can talk about with the vocation specifically. I think I'm going to make a whole video about specifically just that, but even at a baseline, you can see that they're very different in mechanics. However, both vocations had the weapon skills. You would hold L1, and then you choose from the 4 equipped options. Even though they started those off with 4, there's way more in the game. You could set up a
they can get
the tent, right? And then choose and change
2 different
I swapped off the initial 4 at one point
switch weapons. You can get more than just the one page of skills.
Like
you can do like 8 at a time.
Rocks that are physical objects, which work really well for staggering or knocking down enemies.
You still the ice cube at him?
Executes, or be particularly helpful when, say, fighting this rock golem, where the lighter stuff isn't going to do anything, but that physical punch of, you know, firing an ice thing really helped. The physics are incredible though. There were certain enemies where if I attacked their tail, you could cut that off and make them more vulnerable. If you knocked an enemy down, you could run up and grab it, pick it up and throw it, and that's actually really effective. This is particularly strong with, say...
See, that's some of the options they were telling you too. I wonder how often you're going to be able to like do stuff like that. Like not just picking up enemies and throwing them off and stuff. That I'm sure you'll be able to do fairly often, but as far as like interacting and in fights and stuff, like how often you're going to have like real choices, like besides just all-out combat, how often will you be able to do stuff like, you know, pull a wall down on somebody or make a floor disappear or a ceiling fall down on somebody during combat or stuff like that. I've seen some of the scripted stuff, like when they made the ogre fall over the ravine and use it as a bridge, but I wonder how much of that stuff is actually going to be scripted in game and it's going to be real choices and how much of it is just going to be, you know, this is bound to happen, this is scripted, this has to happen here. I do wonder how much is actually going to be in the game as far as real choices go for that kind of thing. But like I say, we'll see. I'm not trying to say that they're not going to be a lot of actual choices and a lot of ways to accomplish missions. But like I said, I'll believe it when I see it too, because I have been burned in the past by stuff like that. But like I said, it's just speculation I've got.
Think about what
all right, we're going to skip a bit,
jumping onto an enemy and grabbing it and climbing around it and going to a weak point like the head is very effective. Some locations are going to be better than others.
Ooh, nasty.
And
that poor head.
Blink teleport to the target, deal a bit of damage, and then latch on, putting you right where you want to be instantly. Or you could say shoot up into the air and slam down, landing on the enemy and standing there without even say grappling and wasting stamina, doing normal attacks from standing there. Or yeah, just latch on and go to the weak point and then just stab the hell out of it. Often say the mage pawns in the group would buff my weapon with a useful element, or even call out really helpful stuff. Say when I was in a fight with the ogres, they were calling out they're just too strong, too armored, we need to knock them down, and that made me rethink what I was doing. The pawns are incredible as natural help though. Outside of like the random buffs, it's the stuff that they would call out. Helpful tips and advice in the specific moment, or when one of our pawns would get knocked down, occasionally they'd go pick them up and bring them to me so I could...
Yeah, picking up that kind of thing is helpful. Calling out sometimes, yeah, sometimes it can get kind of annoying. I remember in the first one, it wasn't ever too bad. It was never bad enough to where I didn't want to play, or didn't want to hear him talk.
To the chest. At the bottom left, you've got the scroll wheel for your pawns. There's go, wait, to me, help. So I could just choose.
All right, so we're going to stop here. We're already getting close to 50 minutes here. So a lot of this is about kind of what I expected from a Dragons Dogma game, which is good. This is a good thing. But I thought he might have some different stuff. Okay. Here's one more here. He's got a bunch of. It's probably clickbait, but we're going to check here. He had like a bunch of different vocations. Let's do it. Fighter 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Oh yeah, there are 10 locations here. Let me look at the website again. Hold on. There were 10. Okay, there's a couple of locations that we still didn't get to see now, I realize. So we saw the fighter, we saw the archer, saw thief, the mage, the warrior, sorcerer, magic archer, magic spearhead. The trickster, the one we haven't got to see is a wayfarer. This is supposedly like a weapon master one. This is not one I've seen talked about yet. Hold on.
The warfarer is a new vocation exclusive to the Arisen that can use every...
No, wait, this is from Dantics too, by the way. I was looking at this one. I was checking because I was like, there's only 8 vocations, but I saw 10 listed on his page. I'm like, wait a second, that doesn't make any sense. So this is a warfarer. It's supposed to be like a weapons master.
Weapon and learn different skills from each vocation. By using diverse weapons, the Warfarer can respond to any situation and create combos that cross vocational boundaries. More on that soon. The Warfarer's lower base stats require them to utilize the situational strengths of the different weapon types to be on par with other vocations with specialized strengths. So you don't need to be a specific vocation to level up your stats, then switch to get the best benefit. When you switch, your stats will switch with you. Here we see their strengths in action. Seemingly carrying 3 weapon sets at a time, the Warfarer uses a star with other vocations with specialized strengths. So you don't and create combos that cross vocational
about the stats, that's important.
More on that soon. The Warfarer's lower base stats require them to utilize the situational strengths of the different weapon types to be on par with other vocations with specialized strengths. So you don't need to be a specific vocation to level up your stats, then switch to get the best benefit. When you switch, your stats will switch with you. Here we see their strengths in action.
I'm sure about that one.
Carrying 3 weapon sets at a time, The
I
Warfare
gotta look
uses
that
a
up.
staff or wand to set up a magic.
The reason I was pausing, I wanted to check because he said that the Warfare had lower base stats. So to me, and if you play Dragons Dogma Dark Arisen, you probably would think the same thing too, or at least I would think so, if I'm thinking correctly, is that if they have lower base stats, then that means that's probably not a class you want to be using the entire time. You're probably not going to want to use this until the very end once you've already min-maxed your stats by leveling up. Like I said, in Dragons Dogma 1, your stats were dependent on what class you were at the time of level up. So if you were on a class that only got, 1 hit point or 2 hit points when you leveled up versus one that got 10 hit points, I mean, that was a permanent change. It didn't swap when you switched classes. That was just your permanent stat upgrade. So to min-max, you had to be certain certain vocations as you were leveling up. Now, to me, the Wayfarer, if it's got low base stats, that tells me I don't want to level up using this. I want to level up min-maxing up on the other vocations and then use this one last once I've gotten up to a max level. So to me, that's what I'm seeing. But maybe that may not be how this works now. We'll see. That's the one system in Dragon's Dogma I don't like, is that your stats are dependent on what you are when you level up. But we'll see how this works in this.
Magical explosion, then switches to the Duro Spear to leap at the Drake and slash at its weak points. When staggered, the Warfarer switches to Twin Daggers, does some damage and places a powder charge on the back of the Drake's head, jumps off and detonates it, dealing major damage. Here we see the Warfarer again using one of 3 weapons, this time a bow attack to the Minotaur from range with seemingly a magic archer vocation skill. It then changes to the warrior's giant two-handed sword to block the charge and follow up with a huge overhead swing which warps the air and staggers the beast. Switching back to the bow, he uses the vault-like ability to put some distance between him and the Minotaur and starts casting the magic arrow abilities again. Next we see the Warfare casting that cool My Hero Academia style ice attack.
Right, it
before
just looks
switching to
brutal.
A warrior's sword, running up the path of the ice wall created, jumping off and slashing down with gravity for major damage
So
against
smooth,
the
too.
Cyclops. So you can start to see how having access to all the abilities might manifest in powerful combos. So the Warfare is for those who want to have the most powerful options for every situation and have no issue using skill to overcome lower stats. I foresee this vocation being very strong at the end of the game.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Definitely at the end of the game. This is one I definitely think will be strong near the end. Probably not near the beginning if the level up system works the way that I think it will. But that's going to do it for today, guys. Like I said, we are going to be playing Dragon's Dogma 2 when it comes out. I'll probably try to do a live stream. It's probably going to be one of the last times I'll be able to live stream for a while before my newborn gets here. That being said, I'm probably going to go ahead and try to get another Elden Ring live stream going on during the week. I do need to get that finished up because we, of course, have the Shadow of the Erdtree coming out as well. I need to go ahead and do a reaction to that one as well. I half watched the trailer already. I was kind of working when it came out, so I need to go through and watch that too, put out a video for it. But for now, this has been our reaction to kind of Dragon's Dogma 2 and the vocations for it. I am very excited to play it when it comes out. This is going to be another one. It's going to be a big one. This is going to take over my life for a while. And it worries me because I, of course, have a baby on the way too. So I'm going to get in what I can when I can. I already don't sleep a lot as it is, especially during the weekday. On the weekends, I can kind of get away with sleeping a bit. Luckily, my wife is very, very helpful on that. She watches the baby in the morning for me so I can stay up and make videos and work and everything I need to do. But yeah, during the week, I'm getting like 4 hours of sleep, working and then making videos after doing all the adult stuff. So, but that's gonna do it for today, guys. Thank you all for coming by, and I will see you on the next video.